This is Capital Games. I'm the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero.
Yes.
I don't. Wow. You answered back this time. Wow. Usually just let me go off and stuff, and just let me know when you're ready. But okay. Anyway, so a new week has passed. Last week we talked about Hogwarts. This week we're going to talk about a game that might not make as much sales as Hogwarts, but for a certain type of gamer is excited to know more about the game. And what we're talking about is the joint production of Wild Hearts, the game that's being developed by Koei Tecmo and EA Originals, that is being developed by Omega Force, the company that is more known for Dynasty Warriors. This was announced, what would you say, about 6 months ago, I think? Or is it less than that?
I believe so, yeah.
It is a monster hunting game that has contraptions and big monsters in it, and it's right now for PC, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5. So new gen consoles and PC are what's getting this game. So we thought this would be an interesting thing to talk about because, one, this is the big game coming out this week. This is in a genre that is pretty popular, but also, I guess it is very popular, but doesn't have a lot of games within that genre. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a niche. I know for the longest while it was kind of a Asia-only thing, especially since when you had games like the original Monster Hunter and things like that. It was just kind of like a thing that sort of took Japan by storm, and then eventually just when it sort of across over to the other Asian countries like Hong Kong and Singapore and Malaysia and stuff like that, it kind of took off there, and then eventually the titles made their way over to the West, and the West found sort of the same excitement as Asia did, but at the same time, just it is a bit of a niche genre too, because really the bigger piece of these monster hunting games is just the co-op is what really makes them shine the most. Mm-hmm. And I know when you had the PSP release of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, that ended up just sort of exploding the popularity of the Monster Hunter games, especially since you had people in Japan just sort of getting their PSPs and taking them with them to school or work, and then just kind of getting in a hunt during lunchtime, during recess, or whatever. And that was kind of where the series really took off. And then ever since then, it's just been kind of how the series has sort of proceeded on with its popularity, just everyone just being a fan of just the whole co-op action sort of thing.
Right. Monster Hunter became big in Japan with Freedom Unite, as you said. It was big in Japan, but it wasn't big in the States. It was considered a niche game that sold okay to middling to a certain extent until it became an internet-based game, which I think started with Monster Hunter Tri, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So when they started doing hunts on the internet, which started with the Wii version of Monster Hunter Tri, the sales and the popularity started growing little by little in the States when it came to Monster Hunter. But even though it wasn't big in the States, it was still a big brand because the Asian markets loved this game and would sing its praises all the time. And it wasn't until World where it really blew up in the States and people started really paying attention to and liking Monster Hunter, in the States especially. Now Monster Hunter is such a big game that it is the biggest franchise that Capcom has sales-wise, period, amongst all its franchises. In that aspect, the monster hunting genre is a big genre of games that makes a lot of money for one company. This leads to, I guess, a couple of questions that I would have too. We're going to skip Monster Hunter sales, okay? Because I think comparing this to the success of Monster Hunter would be very unfair. I don't think it will come anywhere near Monster Hunter. Do you agree?
Yeah, especially since I know that some of the previews have expressed the excitement on the whole trap and movement building stuff with the Karakuri, which is what they're calling the devices and everything. I mean, it looks neat, but it's one thing to look neat, but the bigger part is going to be how does it really actually feel when you actually put those mechanics together while you're trying to fight off a monster or trying to hunt and locate it and everything. Because I'll say this: the idea of being able to create zip lines so you can zip to one part of the map faster than kind of huffing it on foot. That's kind of cool. And for those who haven't played Monster Hunter, generally, the only way you can warp to shortcuts is you have to go find them. And not everyone's gonna have the dedication to go, just huff it out on foot and go find all the shortcuts. So I mean that kind of stuff is neat, but really just my curiosity is going to be just how does it actually feel in practice?
Yeah, and the other Monster Hunter hunting games do traversal in different ways too. Tokiden, which is the one that Omega Force did previously, I think it was more like the old Monster Hunters where they did everything in zones, but the movement was a little bit faster, whereas with Monster Hunter it was a little more plotting. And then, if I remember with God Eater had smaller areas, so traversal wasn't that big of a deal. Am I right on that, or did you play any God Eater?
I played a little bit of God Eater 3, and I mean, just the zones were a little bit smaller, but I mean, the action still felt just as intense. I know one of the things that is a bit polarizing with God Eater is some people aren't really a fan of the whole anime aesthetic, which I get. I mean, maybe you're not an anime weeb, so yeah, totally understand.
We have those games. We also have to mention Dauntless. Now, Dauntless is the free-to-play game that is much more of a Monster Hunter game. And Dauntless, when it comes to traversal, is very minimal. The maps are very small, and the point of the game is to get you in, fight the monster, get you out. That is different with Dauntless, but that's also a free-to-play game that does more different things with Monster Hunter. And unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find sales data on Dauntless. So
and as someone who played a lot of Dauntless over the last couple years, the game is not in a good place right now.
No.
Mostly because they did decide to change the map framework to be sort of open-ended, so you can kind of join in, drop out. But unfortunately, this has also had its fair share of problems where some people will join a lobby just to go farm mats. And of course, what happens when you join someone's lobby in these monster hunting games? Naturally, the monsters get stronger.
Yeah.
So you have some cases where some people will just join up a lobby, gather mats while people are trying to fight a monster, and of course, what happens? You got a monster that's fucking strong as hell that's pretty much harassing you and your friends. And then of course this person ends up not contributing anything to the hunt, and of course you end up having to deal with this monster that is like 25% stronger, all because just this random player decided to join in your open lobby just to gather mats and run. I haven't played since that update happened a while ago, so I don't know if that situation has been resolved, that it requires the player who joins in to ping the monster, and the minute it does, that event does happen, then maybe the monster's power balances out. I don't honestly know. So yeah, I know for a while Dauntless was in a very bad place, and I think some people were not too thrilled with some of the new monsters that they put out, which some of the new monsters ended up being a little bit more difficult to deal with, so that could be a factor as well too. But again, I haven't played Dauntless in a good while. I think maybe 6+ months. So.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too, and when I last played it, I think I played it for a day, and then that was it. Like, my thing with Dauntless was okay, yes, this is a good game, but I still could go play Monster Hunter Rise. The issue that's there, it's kind of hard to go back to Dauntless. But let's get past Dauntless. Reason why I mention it is just for due diligence reasons, to make sure that we cover the main games, I think, that can be covered in this type of genre. So we've got God Eater, we have Tweakedin, and then we have Monster Hunter, and then we have Dauntless. We're not going to talk about Monster Hunter anymore because, again, even if we were to compare it, Wild Hearts is not making those sales. So if we're going to talk about, let's talk about the other ones, which is God Eater and Tweakedin, okay? Tweakedin, within its entire series, according to VG Charts, which, again, I will state that VG Charts isn't the most accurate, but it's the best that we have here. Tweakedin made 1 million in shipped units.
I think, in my opinion, part of Tokuden's issue was just the fact that it was just in a bit of a niche setting that was slightly based on Japanese history. And if you're not familiar with Japanese history, then, you know, maybe the magic might be lost on you.
And then God Eater, the entire series, shipped about 4 million units, according to VG Charts. And now, shipped is different than sold. But I think we can use these figures as one-to-one because a lot of sales also could have come from digital, both from PC and from console. So let's pretend that these shipped units is also sales at this point. For Wild Hearts to be, I think, a success in EA's eyes, what do you think the amount of sales it needs to be for EA to be happy?
Seeing how we've already got some preliminary reports that EA has been betting big on this one.
Right, they're considering this a AAA title.
Yeah, I'm guessing EA is probably hoping for like 5 million units or something drastic like that. At least that's my personal speculation on what they're hoping to get.
Like in total sales?
Not total sales. I was thinking maybe first month sales.
5 million first month sales is what they're expecting. Wow, that would be a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think if they're being realistic, I would be happy with 750,000 sales.
Oh yeah, I mean I would agree with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like something modest, like 750, maybe a million might be stretching it, but
that's not even modest. That's actually pretty reasonable for a game that is in a genre that is dominated by one game and is a new IP from a company that is not used to making these games, which more people are going to look at and see EA than they're going to see Koei Tecmo on this. So I honestly think it should be happy with 500,000 to 750,000. If they make 1 million, they should be thrilled. But if they're expecting 5 million, this is already doomed to fail. This is a Square Enix issue where they're taking a look at a game going, oh, we should expect X, where I don't think that's going to happen on that end. What makes you think that they're expecting 5 million?
That seems to be in line with some of EA's big AAA titles.
Okay.
Typically stuff like Battlefield and things like that are where I'm kind of basing the number on, but again, just that could be just EA being completely delusional. I don't know.
I'm going to share a quote from Game World Observer that was said by Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA. Okay, here's the mentality they have. The Monster Hunter genre is a relatively new genre. It exploded. It is ripe for innovation and creativity and expansion. And what we see the team doing is all of the things that the community is asking for in the genre. And the response so far has been really, really strong. First off, let me ask you, when you hear that quote, do you believe what Andrew Wilson is saying?
It's a bold statement for Andrew Wilson to claim, but yeah, just I'm not so sure that it's going to be as easy as it sounds, because he makes it sound like, you know, hey, just people have been wanting this, and this is what they need. People want innovation, and Yeah, I mean those are perfectly fair thoughts to have, but at the same time, my take on it is more just, yeah, sure, innovation's good, but just big question is, will the innovations be substantial enough to matter? Because if not, then it could be like the best thing ever, and no one may care.
Here's the thing: I don't think he's correct on any of these quotes. First off, the Monster Hunter genre is a relatively new genre. No, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
been
that's
around.
kind of a BS claim
Yeah.
for him to make and say, oh, it's a completely brand new genre. No, it's been out since 2005, 2006.
Yeah. And it's just turned into a big genre within the past 5 years with how much Monster Hunter has sold, which gives me the next problem that I have, that it's ripe for innovation and creativity expansion, and that people who are into that genre are looking for that. Are they? I think they're looking for more Monster Hunter. I don't think they're looking for another game that's like Monster Hunter. I think this is one of these genres that if the main game dies, the whole genre dies with it. I do not think this is a genre that it can really withstand a lot of competition. I think you have the 800-pound gorilla that is Monster Hunter, and then the rest of them might be small, niche-y titles that can be made for a relatively decent amount of money and make a relatively decent amount of money back. But I don't think this is a genre that can withstand to have a second big game that I think EA is thinking this is going to be. I don't see this being the Monster Hunter fans have been asking for more innovation in Monster Hunter. I have not heard from anybody who are Monster Hunter fans that have been saying, I wish Monster Hunter is more innovative. No, what they ask for is different types of Monster Hunter. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can point me to the right direction here, but when I hear people complaining about things with Monster Hunter, it's more or less, why isn't it on X console? Why can't I play with other people on other consoles or on PC?
Yeah.
That's what I
really,
hear.
Yeah, really the big complaints, and let's use a contemporary example, Monster Hunter Rise.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's out on everything. And, of course, the one question a lot of people who had ignored it when it was just a Switch and PC title was, will I be able to crossplay with some of my friends on either PC or Switch? And, of course, the answer from Capcom has been a resounding no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could they possibly change in the future? Yeah, who knows? I mean, that's all up to Capcom, but I mean, that's one innovation I hear many people gripe about. So I haven't looked too hard into Wild Hearts to see if crossplay is going to be a thing, but I mean, I imagine that could be a great reason to market the game to people. So that's certainly a thought too. But as far as like systems and stuff like that, Capcom has fine-tuned the formula so well, especially with using some of the lessons that they learned in Monster Hunter World, and then kind of blending some of the stuff that was seen in Monster Hunter Generations, and sort of blending the two together, and that's what we have with Monster Hunter Rise, and the foundation is just rock solid. And the only innovation I can really think of is maybe crossplay is the thing that everyone gripes about, but saying that, the genre could use some sort of like a complete revamp, that's kind of a bold claim that is going to be really interesting to see if they can substantiate, especially just with making such a claim that people are clamoring for innovations.
Right. And this is, of course, from the stockholder meeting. So they're trying to get their stockholders aboard to put more money in the company, or to make them feel comfortable keeping the money in the company. So there's a little bit of blowing smoke up the ass. The other problem that I would have saw too, like if Monster Hunter Rise was not on the next gen consoles, I would say, okay, there is a chance for this to make more sales. But they just released Rise on those consoles. So now the advantage that Wild Hearts had is pretty much gone at this point. So you have, for Wild Hearts to make the sales that EA thinks it's going to make, it has to have some wild innovations. and I mean it has to change the game. It has to change the way that these games are made, where people will think of Monster Hunter and Wild Hearts in like 1A and 1B. Nothing that I have seen thus far has made me think that, and the reviews in progress that we've read as well have not stated that either. My fear on this one is this is going to be a dud, and this is going to be something that will disappoint in sales. It might get a small audience who does enjoy it and likes it very much, but I don't think this is going to be what I think you're thinking is going to be a AAA bestseller, which I think you're right is about 5 million is what EA is asking for. I don't think it hits 1 million. I think that's where I'm thinking. Like, I don't think it hits 1 million at all until
and I'm a bit skeptical of them betting so big on it because just you're competing against one of the biggest Goliaths in the monster hunting genre, and literally, like you said, it came out on 9th gen just a few weeks ago, and that's just going to be hard. I mean, it would be kind of muscling in on Capcom's turf, and when Capcom has had years to perfect this, I just don't see the AAA sales. I mean, maybe they're hoping for maybe 5 million-ish long term. I don't know. I'm just really, really skeptical of just them trying to see it in that sort of light. I mean, and good on them for dreaming big, but I just am not really sure that the rubber's going to meet the road on this one.
For it to make 5 million, it has to have like god amazing reviews. The word of mouth has to be fantastic, and then after all that, it would have to drop its price in order to get like 5 million in sales. I do not see them making 5 million sales at the end of the year. I don't even think that's going to make 1 million sales by the end of the year. I think at most by end of year, between 500,000 and 750,000, if they're lucky. I don't even think it makes that, to be absolutely honest. I think this will be a game that will have good reviews, good word of mouth. People who are into the monster hunting genre, like really into it, are going to play it. They're going to really like it, and that's it. This will be one of these games we're going to watch YouTube videos about Xbox Series X and PS5 games that are hidden gems that no one played, no one bought, but are actually really good that you should try. And I think that's what this game turns into. I think this will be, I guess, it will be a cult classic, but that's not what you want out of a AAA game. You don't want it to be like, oh, people love it, but no one bought it. And I think that's what's going to happen with this game. Especially with Monster Hunter Rise coming out with its expansion. Because now you have, 70, 80, 90 hours worth of content there? Versus
maybe 100 hours with some of the more extreme hunts that are coming out in due time, too.
Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak, which is the base game and the big expansion it had. $70, but 100 hours worth of content. That also came out on Xbox Series X and S and on PS5. And now you have Wild Hearts. Now, Wild Hearts looks like a better game. But if you are in the mood for that type of game, where are you going to go? Are you going to say, okay, I could buy Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak for $70, get 100 hours worth of gameplay that I have heard great things about and that everybody who's into these games loves, or I can try my hand on the $70 EA game that barely anyone has played, that I don't know what the reviews are like, that my friends I don't know what they feel about it, and probably give me 20 to 30 hours. Call me crazy, but I think they're going to go Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak.
Yeah, I mean, Monster Hunter Rise has already gotten an established base of fans. The fans have pretty much gone absolutely fanatical about the game, and even if like someone were to start completely from nothing to help like their newbie friend who's never played maybe a Monster Hunter game before, because it's got an established history, it's going to be a much more easier swallow for this person who who has maybe never played a Monster Hunter game to be able to talk to their friend who's maybe played many Monster Hunter games in the past several years.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're just going to say, oh yeah, I played this, I've done this hunt, I've done that hunt, I know how most of the mechanics work, and it's just going to be a much easier sell to get someone on board who has already had some time established on one of the previous games.
Mm-hmm. And EA is not a company that can look at something and go, we have a good foundation for maybe a type of game or a game series that could do better as time goes on. With them, Andrew Wilson basically saying this is a AAA game. We expect these AAA we have these expectations for this game. It is basically they have to make the money now or it's not happening again.
Yeah. And especially with it being under this new EA Originals label, mm-hmm. It definitely means this is experimental phase stuff. That
right.
If it doesn't meet the numbers, yeah, it just looks like Koei Tecmo is going to be back on trying to do this on their own, just in the future, if there is even a future for something like this.
I'm going to reiterate again, my sales expectation for the year, I'm just going to go flat 500,000. I think that's the max it will hit. If the word of mouth gets really good, 750,000. But I think 500,000 is probably where it lands. What do you think?
Yeah, 500,000 I would most definitely agree with. Maybe if they're lucky, maybe it breaks 1 million, but even then that's going to all be dependent on luck and circumstance.
Right. I do think that it will make more by the time that the sales are done with this game. Let's say a few years from now, it might reach over 1 million, but that's like 2 or 3 years time. And if they decide to do an expansion, maybe that will drive sales a little bit more. But I don't think it even goes that far. I think they're gonna do this base game, and if it doesn't sell well, any other development they had in the pipeline for it gets canceled, and then that's it. It's done.
I will clarify to anyone who thinks I am biased to Monster Hunter. Well, I will be completely clear. I do love Monster Hunter. Mm-hmm. I also do love seeing competition in the market.
Oh, definitely.
And I'm just not sure that this pie-in-the-sky dream that they're shooting for is realistic. And that's where I personally have my concerns with them aiming as high as they are. I mean, it's definitely great to have aspirations. I have no problem with that, but just at the same time, you got to be reasonable.
Yeah, no, I agree. The sales expectations for this is a little off skew. Well, not a little off skew, very off skew when it comes to EA on this. I unfortunately have accepted money from Capcom when it comes to Monster Hunter, so I am not to be trusted. I am wearing my money hat right now, and I am eating a bag of Doritos as we talk. So
going full Doritos, Pope.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, but no, I'm a fan of Monster Hunter as well, and I agree with you. I want more competition. I want to see more of these types of games. I just don't think that a AAA version of this specific genre right now is a good idea. I think if you want to build one of those game, like, I'll put it this way. If Bandai Namco took God Eater, blew it up, and I mean blew it up into something bigger, where its fan base is getting really excited, and then they want to add more marketing onto that game, that might not be such a bad idea. But we're also talking about genre that has an established big 800-pound gorilla that other competition doesn't even come close to, on top of it being a new IP, and on top of it being in a company that no one really associates with that type of genre. So you have all these things against it, and it's still expecting 5 million or around that for sales? I don't think so. That's not happening. Well, that is it for this episode of Capital Games. We'll have another episode throughout the week when the news starts picking up, or we'll come up with something to talk about. But on that note, that is it for this episode of Capital Games. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.